Hi y'all, welcome to Daily Mail segment 12. This is going to kind of be a double whammy. I just did a video from Heidi's question about how do we know when the reading applies to us, because if it resonates with me but I'm an empath, is it just resonating with me because I'm feeling the vibes of the people involved, or all that. I just did a video to answer that question, and it just really sucked bad. So I thought, I'm not putting that on there. But Waterbaby Tarot has a great video about how to interpret the readings as a viewer. So I'm going to, with her permission, I have gotten her permission, I am going to put that video down in the link and let her answer that question. So if that's what you're looking for, go straight to that link. The other half of this video, what I'm going to talk about is Kim's question is, how do we make ourselves feel whole? Or how do we know when we're whole? How can we feel whole and know that we're whole? That was the question. How can we feel whole and know that we're whole? And that's what I'm going to talk about. So again, if you're just strictly looking for the how do I know if it's my reading, that's going to be in the comments, Waterbaby Tarot. I have not in the comments, in the description, I have a link by Waterbaby Tarot about how to interpret it as a viewer. And we're going to talk about how do I feel whole and know that I'm whole. So again, I can only speak from my own experiences. So we're gonna start with being whole. My first, off the top of my head, answer is we're never whole until we get back home to the other side. That's my first, off the top of my head, answer. But I understand what you're asking, and I'm going to address that. And I think it's going to come in increments, and it's going to be steps, and you're going to think that you're whole, and then something's going to happen, and you're going to back up, and you're going to think, oh man, I thought I had handled all of this, and then you're going to move forward on your journey again, and then you're going to think that you're whole, and then something's going to happen, or a new thing's going to happen. You don't even have to back up. Something new happens, and you think, oh wow, I guess I'm not whole. Depends on what whole is, what your definition of whole is. But I'm going to give you an example of different ways to feel or to know that you're whole or on your way to being whole on your journey. As if you watched the video from last night, you know that I had an abortion. Well, there was a time in my life that I just judged everybody in the world that ever had an abortion, and I thought it was the most evil thing in the world, and I was ugly about it to a lot of people. And then I got put in a situation where I had an abortion. So it taught me a couple of things. Number one, it taught me to never, ever, ever, ever judge. Of course, I learned to never, ever, ever, ever judge about that, but I still judged. Long story, but anyway, over a period of years, see, that ended up being a really deep wound inside of me. And over a period of years, if somebody said the word abortion, I would cry. If I was in a safe place where I could cry, I would cry. On the street or whatever, I might get a little emotional and maybe tears in my eyes. But if I was alone or having a conversation with somebody in a private setting, I would cry. That abortion happened 30 years ago. And even to this day, it's hard to talk about abortion, period, but specifically mine. But I no longer break down and cry, because that's a wound that I brought on myself. That was one of those hurts that I caused myself. And I didn't even address it till 10 years later was when I addressed it. So once I addressed that wound and felt like I made progress about the healing part of it, I thought, okay, good. I won't be going through this anymore. And then time passes, and here it comes again, where I'm faced with another situation where it's brought up to me, and I start crying again. I guess I really need to tell the whole story, but because I feel like the only way that I can help you understand about wholeness is it's not where you just wake up one day and you're whole. There's different fragments of ourselves that have been injured and hurt. And like I said, sometimes it's because somebody perpetrated hurt on us, but sometimes we did it to ourselves. And those are the hardest ones to really acknowledge and heal. And I guess that's why I started with that particular story, because it was a very long journey. It probably wasn't until about 5 years ago, that would be 25 years, that I finally stopped crying about it. And that's when I had a visitation from my son that I aborted. But the process to get there was long and arduous is the word I want to say. I hope that's the right word. It was hard. It was a hard journey because there was a lot of crying involved. But as far as that wound goes, now I can talk about it without breaking down, snot running out of my nose, can't breathe, kind of crying, because that wound has finally been healed. So I am whole where that's concerned. I brought my car, another topic, brought my car to be worked on, and I still don't have it back yet. This is 6 months going now with no car. And 3 years ago, I would have been like, I'm telling you, I would have thought I'd been screaming, cussing, hollering for 6 months. And I feel like now I'm almost grateful, because I realize that because God has grounded me, it's given me time to dig deep within myself. It's given me time to start my book. I've started this YouTube channel, and God's been growing me through this situation. So I feel like with my impatience and spoil brat tantrums and things like that, I've been growing. So I feel like I'm coming to a place of wholeness in the department of patience and in the department of finding the good in bad situations. So I feel like there's some wholeness that's come in to my life there. Something happened the other day. I woke up and I was out of coffee, and I love coffee. And instead of cussing at myself and throwing something and, all that behavior, I don't know if y'all do that. But I was like, oh well. So I got a bottle of water, and then at 4:30, because I wake up really early, at 4:30, when I knew the store down the road was open, I ran to the store and grabbed a large cup of coffee. Actually grabbed 2. But so it's just little things like that you know that, oh wow, when you can look at yourself and compare from years ago or months ago and see a difference in your own reaction and in the way that you handle things now, you realize that you are at a different place. So you realize that you are feeling more whole. Let's talk about a breakup. Let's talk about, how when the breakup happens and you're just consumed with grief, and if you're the one who's been broke up from, if somebody broke up with you, and you're consumed with the grief and the hurt and the rejection and all that stuff, and all you can do is think about it, and you just can't seem to function and all that. You'll notice as the days go by that pain eases up, and you do some work, some inner work, and figure out what are the good things about this breakup, and how does it actually benefit me, and those kinds of things. And you realize down the road that, you know what, that wasn't the right person for me anyway. Or you hear their name and it doesn't trigger something. Then you realize that wound has been healed. So that's part of becoming whole. It's like being whole is kind of like saying, life is a destination. You know, they say life's not a destination, or success is not a destination. It's a journey. Everything's a journey, even being whole. In my opinion, I still have things to work on as far as being whole. There's never going to be a day when I don't feel like I have some growing to do. I feel like I am a lifelong learner. That's how I feel. And I like that. And I like whenever when something can happen, I can look at myself and say, wow, I used to be a real tyrant, because 3 years ago, this is how I would have reacted. And it's, so some people might be listening saying, well, you finally grew up. But it is about growing up, but it's also about whatever those wounds were deep inside that caused me to behave that way are being healed little by little. And sometimes we don't know what those wounds are. With the root chakra, you know, there's things in our history we have no clue. Past lives, different lineages, we have no clue what all has been brought in with our DNA that really holds us back. We just don't necessarily know. And without spending a lot of money, like past life regressions and Akashic record readings and all that stuff, there's just no way to know. So our choice is just accept the grace that comes with healing, and accept that and believe for the healing of it, or worry ourselves trying to figure out what it is. It's part of becoming whole is understanding that we're not just connected to God's source, but we're not just connected like by a golden cord. God's source lives within us. We are part of Him. We're not just connected. Him, her, it, whatever you want to call it. We're not just connected. We are part of it. We are an earthly manifestation of it, of God's source. We all are. So whenever we understand that, and we can trust that God's source, the field, the universe, their intention was never for us to be harmed here. Some of that is stuff that we bring onto ourselves, and some of that is stuff that has, just come from generation to generation, whatever. But so how do I feel whole? Every day I look at how far I've come, especially when situations arise that I know would have at one time made me flip my wig. I don't wear a wig, but you know what I'm saying. So wholeness is not a destination. It's a journey. So whenever you look at your own life and you see how far you've come, celebrate the growth to wholeness. Celebrate that journey to wholeness, that yes, you've taken one step closer to wholeness. Because like I said, wholeness encompasses the whole of us. And while we might feel like we have accomplished healing in one department, there's still other areas that are going to raise their head at some time or another that we're going to need to heal also. Anybody who says they're completely whole, I might get some flack for that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Anybody who says they're completely whole, I think is in for an awakening, because they're going to see at some point, somewhere, They weren't as whole as they thought. They may be way more whole today than they were 3 years ago. But at some point, they're going to see that there's still room to grow to become even more whole, if that's possible. So I hope that made sense for you. I'm going to do the PS so that if there's anything I should have said differently or forgot to say, Spirit will add it. God, guides, angels, archangels, we thank you so much for the messages. We thank you for the Daily Mail segments. And I thank you for people who are truly, the other thing was, let yourself off the hook. Wholeness it's kind of like enlightenment. You don't get a certificate saying you're enlightened and then you never have to worry about it again. Enlightenment also is a daily journey. So it's the same thing with wholeness. So let yourself off the hook. That's probably the biggest message that I think you can hear is let yourself off the hook about being whole, and realize that part of being whole is realizing that wholeness is a journey too. It's all a journey. Thank you for love, light, and prosperity, and clear and concise messages, and clarification and confirmation and validation. Show us the PS, please, as far as it relates to this message, to answer the question that Kim had about wholeness. Okay. So we're getting the Wheel of Fortune. So it's something that we need to talk about. It really is something that we need to talk about. And I'm gonna tell you something. And this is I have a real strong feeling about this. I said this to somebody on a Skype call the other day. I think a lot of the problems that we have in this world are because people feel they're never going to reach the level that they are supposed to reach. And sometimes we just have to give ourselves a break. And I think this is a timely time for this, it's a timely message. When we have kids out there, and I'm just going to go ahead and get on my little soapbox. When we have kids out there accidentally ODing on drugs all the time, and people are adamant about getting the drug dealers off the streets. And I'm just here to tell you, it's about supply and demand. You get the drug dealers off the streets, the kids who need the drugs, and I'm not just talking about teenagers, I'm talking about young adults, middle-aged adults, anybody. It's like there's this void that they can't feel, and they feel they're never going to be able to feel it because of the pressure to become whole, or the pressure to become saved and stay saved, or the pressure to become enlightened. All of those things, we've got to let ourselves off the hook. I've said this, and I don't know if you've ever heard me say it, but all those years that I sat in church, and I am grateful for the church and the experience that I had there. And I'm grateful that it's there today for anybody who wants to go. But all those years that I sat in church, I felt so less than. I felt like I would never, ever be good enough. It wasn't until in spite of myself and who I was, and in spite of the rejection I felt by people, that God consistently, or the God energy, the God source, my spirit guides, my spirit team, consistently would reach down and find me and wrap their arms around me in a way that I knew this was something so supernatural and loving. And I didn't deserve it based on what I had been taught. I didn't deserve it. So it wasn't until that, it wasn't in the pews that I understood God's love. It was on the floor in my bathroom in the fetal position crying. It was laying in my bed at night wishing I would die and feeling the arms of God wrap around me. Those were the times when I felt so defeated and then lifted up supernaturally. And I don't mean raised up out of the mire, but I just mean loved. Whenever we can understand that we're loved no matter what, that's when we want to be better and do better. And it's those times that made me want to be a better person, made me want to slow down and think about the way I talk to people, made me want to slow down and think about the way I make people feel when I'm visiting with them. I think this is a timely message. So being whole and feeling whole, don't put the pressure on yourself. Feel loved. Allow yourself to love yourself, that however you feel is okay, really. And trust that fate has your best interest at heart, and you're going to find the fullness that you're looking for. Okay, and we have the Page of Pentacles. So this is about the Page of Pentacles is about new manifestations, or bringing things into our life, making things from here into this tangible reality, right? New job, new something tangible in your hands. So I feel like they're asking you, or all of us really, to think about the things that we have manifested into our lives by the power of our own connection to God, to God's source, to the field, the force, whoever it is you talk to, the angels, the archangels, the guides, the Holy Spirit, whoever it is. Think about the times that these prayers have been brought and answered into our life. And think about the times that we've felt tangible love from the universe. Think about the time, focus on those times, and then like I said, celebrate them. Celebrate the healings, the wholeness. You know, you can be devastated one day, and the next day laughing with your friends because you forget, because God's grace is such that we can escape from the pressures of the world. We can turn on Netflix and watch something that makes us laugh and escape. So we've manifested healing into our life, even if it's only for an hour or two. Celebrate those times that we can manifest that feeling of wholeness. And the more times that we can celebrate that manifestation of wholeness in our life, or whatever that means to us, the more often we have that feeling of wholeness, that tangible feeling of wholeness in our life. While even though I'm going to say it again, technically I don't think we're ever actually whole until we get back home to the other side. And then we have the Sword of Truth. Okay, this is the page, the Sword of Truth. It's the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords, the page is a messenger, right? The messenger brings in understanding and truth and communication, and the page is curious about finding information out. So always be curious. Always be curious, and don't let anybody take your power, and don't let anybody put on you a label that says not whole yet, because none of us are whole yet. And you could, if somebody wants to give me some flack, they can just give me some flack. Nobody is whole until we're on the other side. That's my belief. We're all constantly growing. So let yourself off the hook with that label. Those labels that we put out there are more harmful than good, I think. So let yourself off the hook. Put down that burden. That's the Ten of Swords. Put down that burden of feeling like you have to accomplish something in that department. Trust that the universe truly does have your back and your best interest at heart. Trust that the universe truly is going to bring you on the top side of this situation, whatever it is. And little by little, celebrate those little wins along the way. The more we celebrate those little wins, and if we're not feeling them, then take a brain break. Take a brain break. Go find something funny on Netflix. That works for me. But I love to watch Frasier. Go find something funny on Netflix and let it make you laugh. Let it give you an escape from things. Don't stay there 12 hours a day, but give yourself a break and allow yourself to, well, you might need to stay there 12 hours a day depending on what's going on. But anyway, not for the rest of your life. Okay, guys. One thing always leads me to another thing in my mind, so I apologize for that. But anyway, thank you so much for stopping in at Daily Mail. I hope this has answered your questions. Remember to be able to view the link from Waterbaby about how to interpret these messages or tarot as a viewer. There is a link in the description to that YouTube video, and she handles that way better than I ever could. But this wholeness question, I hope I've answered it, and I hope this has given you some encouragement. If you have questions about it, please feel free to email me at spiritmailtarot@gmail.com. I love you guys so much, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Until then, have a super duper day. Bye.